Hi everybody. I have here a couple of versions of the Conver from 1760. I'm going to leave each of their philosophies aside in terms of restoration and recreation or reconstruction of the Conver. But this one here, and I'm going to focus more on comparing these two. So this one here is Tarot de Marseille edition Millennium by Wilfried Houdouin. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name. It all depends. Sometimes a French name can be pronounced in a Spanish way, a Spanish name can be pronounced in a French way, depending on where the person's living and their heritage. And so Wilfried Houdouin is how I'm going to pronounce it for now. And please feel free to correct me in my pronunciation. Both I've obtained from Yves Reynaud's online shop called Tarot de Marseille Heritage.com. I will link that below. And so this is based on sacred geometry and the Conver reconstructed with the idea that there is a sacred geometry that's been lost in the 18th century, and the creator have attempted to bring that back into the reconstruction of the Conver. Here by Christophe Poncet is a majors only deck. This has a majors only set. I have here with me the full set, but I'll only go through the majors. This is returning or trying to imagine how the Conver once was, in a way. So let's start. So here we have one by Poncet, and here we have one by Houdouin. If one is an attempt at restoration or reimagining of how it looked like in 1760, the other, this one here, is a reimagining and a reconstruction of it. If you can see the lines and the colors, the Houdouin or the Millennium edition on the right is very much like Flournoy's reconstructions of a lot of the Tarot de Marseille in the aesthetic and sensibilities of the 21st century, where we have line precisions, digital technology with color palettes and coloring printing technology that can achieve this very crisp, very solid look on the right. And of course there's the idea of inherent sacred geometry that is restored into the composition, while the left by Poncet is more of an attempt to return to how it was in the 1760s or 1760. I'll try to link down below various websites or discussions on Aeclectic Tarot Forum when it was still active. A write-up by Yves Reynaud himself, the creators' websites and the like. I believe, unfortunately, a lot of the resources are in French, and so for obvious reasons I'll only link the ones that are in English. Two Conver-based decks that are quite well known. Two others, namely the Conver Bend-Off, the CBD, as well as Jodorowsky's Kamois, which I believe is also based on the Conver. The green on the left is really dark. The green on the right is a lot more distinct from the blue. The feet showing, and under the staff is what looks like blue on the right, so make me think of water. On the left, on the other hand, is the same color as his robe, which is this orange, gold, yellowish color. Facial expressions in each are also quite different, just slightly different. Again, the color of the green is a lot more pleasant to my own eyes on the right. Namely because it is easier to distinguish from the blue, but also I just find it a little bit more pleasant to my eyes. There's a couple of shades of green on the right, and there's only one shade of green on the left. Very stark, feels very stark, the green. On the left, that is, on the supposed restoration. So that 12 is interesting because that 12 on the right doesn't make any sense to me, and I know that the 4s are additive instead of subtractive, so that there's 4 1s rather than 1 and then a 5. So but that does not make any sense unless you turn it around like so. I have not investigated that for the time being. I'm only concentrating on on comparing the images and the colors between the two editions. When I do the walkthrough, or when I have the chance, I'll definitely get back to you on those Roman numerals. In the meantime, if someone know anything about that, please feel free to comment down below. So the color of the tree is quite different as well. It's orange on the left and it's green on the right. All in all, a lot more color on the modern rendition by Houdouin. Feel free to pause to observe the differences further. I'm just going to flip along to manage the length of this video. The parish priests are often buried in the parish church graveyard as facing the congregation. So the figure at the front there with the donut looking head is the clergy, and that explains the head facing towards the congregation, whose graveyard would have been facing this way, while the priests would have faced that way. And so I think that is a reflection of that practice. As you can see, the right is a lot more linear, a lot more crisp, very much like Fleur Noir. The faces are less more. I like the crispness of the right, but I like the sort of almost googliness of the face and eyes of the left. Almost that sort of clumsy naivety that is nevertheless rather nice to look at. I don't know why that is. It's an interesting emotional reaction to googly eyes, I suppose. Definitely more colors on the right, the Millennium edition there. Look at the birds, have a lot more colors. The lion on the right bottom corner and the eagle on the right top corner. Definitely more defined on the right on the Tarot Millennium edition compared to Poncet's restoration. The aim is different though. The aim of these two, one is perhaps to try and get as close as possible to what the original might look like, while Tarot Millennium is a modern take on what it perhaps could have been or should have been, given the sacred geometry that was a part of these things prior to the 1800s, because I think the write-up mentioned how the sacred geometry, how this element of sacred geometry disappears or disappeared in the 1700s. Whether that is true or not, whether you agree with that thesis or not, for the purpose of this video is besides the point. Once again, I'm hoping to merely compare the two aesthetically for the moment, in case any of you are deciding, and in case at this point the thesis behind the construction or reconstruction, restoration, or reimagining of these of the Conver from 1760 isn't an issue yet. So that is the comparison between these two. Poncet, Christophe Poncet over here, and this one here is by Wilfried Houdouin, edition Millennium, both from Yves Reynaud's website, Tarot de Marseille heritage.com. And again, some links, information on discussions and various other information that I can find in English will be placed down below, and you can use those to start your own investigation on things. So have fun, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.